So let's talk about finding a recruiter. This was actually kind of hard for me because my high school had an Army ROTC program, and there were Army recruiters in our school like twice a month probably. So when you think of a recruiter, you think like they're always desperate for people. Well, that may be true for some branches, but it is not true for the Air Force. I found out that they're kind of exclusive, I guess you could say, and I guess that's to be expected. I just didn't think about it. So you have to be persistent, and you have to let people know that you're serious and that you're dedicated to it. When I first had this thought, I kind of was like, no, there's no way you'll join the military. Emily, what? I've said before that my boyfriend's in the Air Force, and I was kind of afraid what he would think. Hey, you're in the Air Force, you're getting PCS to Korea. What would you think if I joined the Air Force? But he was actually like, no, that's a good idea. Like, do something with your future. So, after he kind of gave me his approval, I was like, okay, let's do this. And I don't think he realized I was as serious about it as I was, or ended up being. It's kind of funny. So, I emailed, I went on the Air Force website and I found, recruiter near me. And I emailed that person. And I was like, oh, they'll email me back when they get a chance. No, they did not. I called them, I left them a voicemail, and then I started thinking, what if they're out of town or something? So I emailed the recruiter near where I live in Georgia. And he actually emailed me back pretty fast. But I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm originally from Adairsville, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes north of Atlanta. So that's about a 3-hour drive. 3 hours to see a recruiter. And you have to go see a recruiter fairly often. So, sort of, he answered a few questions that I had about, officer versus enlisted. And he was like, yeah, just give me a call tomorrow when you have a chance. So I called them. They didn't answer. I left a voicemail. They never got back with me. So I was talking to my boyfriend about it, and he was like, hey, I used to work with a guy, and I think he's a recruiter now. Let me find out which recruiter station he's at. And so he found out his information. He's in Auburn, which is about 45 minutes from here to an hour, depending on traffic. So I got his email, and I emailed him, and I didn't, name drop. I was just like, yeah, I've been emailing a few recruiters, but a friend of mine gave me your number, or your email, name, whatever, and told me that you were really great and that I should talk to you about it. So I sent him an email with everything that I was interested in, everything I'd been thinking, some questions that I had, and he actually got back to me fairly quickly and called me back. He actually called me back in the middle of this meeting we had to have at my school. That's another topic for another time. And I couldn't answer the phone, and it made me so mad. And then he emailed me back, and I called him after we got done with this mandatory meeting. So, did that. We went through, a questionnaire, because he was trying to do as much on the phone as he could before I had to drive an hour to come talk to him. So I answered a bunch of questions. Have you ever been to the hospital? Yes. Allergies, tattoos, are you deaf, you do drugs, those kind of things. So we went through all those things, and one thing that I was actually surprised by is the Air Force checks your credit. And I'm in college. I don't have credit. I do, it's just not very good, I guess you could say, and I have a lot of student loans. So I was a little scared about that, but I passed my credit check, I suppose. They're just really looking for, derogatory marks. So if you have, lots of unpaid bills, then they won't accept you, I'm assuming. Yeah, so I talked to him, we set up a date, he told me, all the information that I needed. I needed my high school diploma, my social security card, my birth certificate, if you have a passport, you have to bring your passport, driver's license. Did I say high school diploma? Yes, high school diploma. So I also had to get medical records for, I was in the hospital when I was really little and I had a parasite. It attacked my liver, those sorts of fun things. And I'm also allergic to penicillin, so I had to get medical records that documented those two events, and that ended up being quite a trip. I tried to get them before I went and talked to him the first time, but I'm in Alabama, my hospital's in Georgia. I had to try to get my mom to do it, and it didn't work out. So I brought all the things that I had with me. I actually ended up having to get a letter from my high school stating that I graduated from there because my mom couldn't find my diploma. I still probably need to look for that, don't I? So I went in and I got all my stuff together. I was really nervous. I don't know why. I'm a theater major, usually like talking to people is what I do. But I guess it's different when it's like your future. So I drove to Auburn. I got there really early. I walked around Walmart. And then I went to the recruiting station. And another Emily thing was I was looking for an office that was just for the Air Force, but it's obviously not. It's got all the branches. They all had their own little doors and seals, and I told a story in my last video about the Army guy trying to like steal me from the Air Force. That was funny. Yeah, I couldn't get in the door. There were like lots of keypads and buttons, and there was this little tiny button that said call, or air call, I think is what it said. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna push this one, you know. So I pushed that button, and they're like, oh, come on in. So they let me in. I met with my recruiter. He was really nice. Yeah. And then we took the practice ASVAB. I made a 73, which I was a little surprised by because I thought I did really well on it. But I guess a 73 is not bad anyway. He took my height and my weight. We went through 1,000,001 documents about medical things and life. If you have any tattoos, you have to write down like a detailed description of all the tattoos and like draw a little picture of them. I thought that was funny. I had to watch a video about appropriate relationships with your recruiter. And it's really funny because, like I said, he knows my boyfriend, so he was like, I'm not gonna date you, obviously, like, we can't cohabitate. He's like, I'm not gonna live with you and Chandler, and you're not gonna live with me. So that was funny. Slightly awkward, but funny. So we got through all that. We scheduled a date for me to take the real ASVAB. And yeah, it was exciting. We talked a little bit about jobs. He explained to me how Open General works, and which is basically where all my jobs are. I'm really interested into photojournalism and broadcast journalism just because I am a theater major and like art is what I do and I like talking. So you have to actually audition for the broadcast journalism, and I need to ask him more about that because that sounds like a lot of fun. So we talked about a little bit of that, and like I said, scheduled me to take my test. So yeah, it was great. It was a good first meeting with my recruiter. So a few weeks later, I went to the MEPS station on Maxwell Gunter Air Force Base. That was an interesting trip already. People are kind of, no, I wouldn't say mean. They just weren't nice. At least the civilian people I talked to. I got there with all my stuff. I walked up to the front desk like my recruiter told me to, and I stood there, and these people were just carrying on a conversation, and the dude looked at me, ignored me, went back to talking about whatever they were talking about. It was a personal conversation. It wasn't like they were discussing like important facts. So I just kept standing there, and I was like, well, they'll get to me eventually, I guess. And he finally did, was like, oh, what are you here for? And I was like, oh, well, I'm trying to take the ASVAB, thanks. Here's my paper. My recruiter gave me a piece of paper that gets me through the gate and to the, to go take the test. So they were like, oh, okay. And so he took that paper and he made me read a bunch of stuff, and then he made me read the paper that I filled out to make sure it was correct. Yeah, that was fun. They took my picture a million times, got mad at me when I stopped looking at the camera, but they probably took 20 pictures of me. 20. And I don't know why. Like, isn't one enough? So they give me a little sticker. They had my name and it said Air Force, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm saying a lot. They were like, okay, you go upstairs, to the left. So I go upstairs and to the left, and there was nothing there. But like one of those half doors, but there was no one behind the half door, and the half door was locked. So finally, so I was just kind of like, what do I do? I'm not good in these kind of situations. This really nice guy with a Navy uniform was like, oh, are you here for the ASVAB? And I was like, yes, sir. He's like, okay, well, glad you're here. Like, just make sure you put all your electronics in your bag. Sign this and let me see the paperwork you got. And he was really nice, really polite. Because I just thought it was funny that everyone's like, oh, the guys in the military uniforms are going to be the ones that are, like, mean. But he was the nicest person I talked to the whole day. He had an accent. It was nice. So he let me through. I had to leave my bag outside with my phone and my watch and my whatever else I had that was electronic. I don't know what it was. And he's like, okay, stand out this door, by this door, and this guy will let you in when he's ready. I was like, okay. So I stood there. And this one guy came and got me, and he, like, I had to take, like, a finger scan. Sorry, my hands are, like, brown. Yeah, finger scan. So he scanned my thing, wrote down my social, at the computer, and basically, like, gave me some scratch paper and was like, here, take the test. And I had to take 3 tests. I had to take the ASVAB, I had to take some sort of technology test, and then the TAPAS personality test, which, stupid. But the ASVAB was fine. It was really funny. I could tell that I was, because the questions increase by difficulty as you get them right, and during, like, the word knowledge test, I could tell that I was getting a lot right, because there were some words I'm like, I don't think those are English. It's like, I read a lot, and I've never seen this word before, so that was funny. Yeah, so I got done with it, took the cyber test. It was really hard, but the dude was like, you can't study for these tests. So I was like, okay, I consider myself to be intelligent. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, so after I did that, I took that personality test, and it's like you have to pick between 2 scenarios or 2 statements that most describe you, but sometimes they get stupid, and, like, neither of these, like, one was, I hate people with different cultural backgrounds, or I crumble under pressure and should never have responsibilities. I'm like, what? So I'm either, like, racist or I can't handle stress. What? So I got through that. I guess I'm not crazy. We'll see. But after I finished the test, I picked up my stuff and I stood up and I went to walk back to the guy at the front, because that just would make sense. And he held up a finger. He's like, no, sit back down, sit back down. I was like, oh. So I sit back down in my seat really fast. And he's like, I'm gonna come to you. I was like, oh, like, you didn't tell me not to get up after the test. So he came over there, picked up my scratch paper, and said, push in your chair. And I was like, you couldn't have told me to bring you my scratch paper and push in my chair before this test started? And then he tried to make jokes, and they were not funny. He's like, but they were, like, sarcastic, like, almost, like, mean. I don't even know how to explain it. He's like, alright, you remember which finger you scanned, right? Like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, put that on the little scanner. And he's like, and remember, it's your right index finger. Always remember that. Don't leave it at home. I'm like, okay. And he's like, you can call your recruiter once you get off base and back home. I was like, okay. Fine, that's cool. So I left, I went back to the front desk. They were like, take off your name tag. And I was like, okay, jeez, God. Name tag in the trash can. And then he's like, did you drive here? And I was like, yeah. And then he was on the phone and he gave me like a wait 1 minute. And I was like, can I please get out of here? So yeah, I got back in my car, called my recruiter. He said he would text me my scores and whatnot. I went and ate lunch with Chandler because I was on base. Yeah, a few days ago I got a text from my recruiter saying that I had been approved to process at MEPS, so I should be doing that either the 27th or the 3rd, a Monday probably. Yeah, and I'll let you guys know whenever I do that. I'm excited, scared, but I just want to get it done. I want to just, instead of it being like a guessing game, I want it to be like a waiting game, I guess you could say. Yeah, that's what I've done so far. Overall, not a bad experience. A little frustrating initially just because I wanted someone to talk to me about it, but it was hard. So, yeah, I'll keep you guys updated with my journey and where I go, and I'm excited. But till next time.